Narcissists can make you believe things about yourself that are actually projections of ways they feel about themselves or problems they have that they want you to take the blame for. In today's video, I want to talk about several examples of things that narcissists can make you believe about yourself that really have no basis in reality at all. Welcome to Looking Behind the Mirror, where we explore narcissism and take our lives back as we make sense out of nonsense. As a quick disclaimer, everything I say is based on my opinions and my personal experiences. I'm not a professional, and if you're really struggling, I encourage you to seek professional help. I am providing links below for you. Real quick, before I get into this video, for any of my regular viewers, you might be wondering where I've been for the last month, I think. I went on a weekend trip 3 weekends ago, and that's why I didn't upload that weekend. And then I caught the virus for the very first time that I know of. So that knocked me out of commission for the next 2 weekends. And you can probably hear that I still don't quite sound right. So that's where I've been. I feel like I'm pretty much back in commission, but yeah, that was quite an experience. Wow. So to get back into the theme of the video, if you've listened to my videos or my reels for a while, you've probably heard me say many times that narcissists want you to take the blame for their problems. They want to blame their problems on you. They want to pretend that their problems are your fault. They want you to take all the weight, all the burden, all the responsibility for things that they really should be taking accountability for. And in today's video, these examples of beliefs that they will cause you to have about yourself, these are really specific examples of what I'm talking about when I say that narcissists want you to take the blame for their problems. So hopefully that'll help you understand what I mean when I say that, because I know I say that a lot. So the first projected belief that a narcissist will cause you to have about yourself is that you are not lovable or that you are really hard to love. Narcissists can really convince you that you're really obnoxious or that there's just something about you that's really hard to tolerate, that's really hard to love, really hard to look past. And this can really make you feel like you're lucky to have this person in your life. And you can really carry this belief on into future relationships and settle for much less than you really deserve, because you feel like if anyone is willing to be with you, you're just really lucky that they're tolerating you, because you're such a difficult person to be with. You're such a difficult person to love. The reason that a narcissist will make you believe this about yourself is because you are a difficult person to love for them, because they have a hard time loving people, loving anyone, but they want you to take the blame for this very personal problem that they have that has nothing to do with you. But this is just how narcissists work. Any kind of problem they have, any difficulty that they have with certain things, they're going to make it everyone else's fault because they just can't or won't take accountability for their own unique problems. And so when they wake up one day and realize that because the initial thrill, the initial thrilling infatuation is worn off, and now they suddenly don't have anything of substance underneath it, they don't feel anything meaningful or deep for you, and they're actually kind of bored with you now. Well, they can't look at that as a failure within themselves. They can't look at that as a problem that they have, developing deep, meaningful feelings for people. They have to make that your fault. And so they will. And they will come up with anything they can. They will look for any little imperfection you have, any little annoying habit you might have. They'll even make things up if they can't come up with anything, and they will blame you. And they're very good at convincing you that you're the reason that they seemed to stop loving you, or that it seems like they're just constantly annoyed with you, because it must be because you are such an annoying person. And like I said, this can convince you that you're just lucky to have anyone put up with you. Even when you end the relationship with this one person, you're very likely to settle for less than you deserve in the next relationship because you have this internalized belief that you don't really deserve, or that the kind of person you are isn't the kind of person that really should expect someone to just love you. And this can turn into a vicious cycle because you can tend to over and over again settle for people that treat you like you don't deserve love because you think that that's the best that you can ever hope for. And the way they treat you reinforces this belief you have that you are a hard person to love. As I've said in other videos, you deserve love because of who you are, not because of things you do. And even if you do have annoying habits, or even if there are things about you that might bother people, that has nothing to do with love. You don't love people because they're perfect. You don't love people because they never annoy you. You don't love people because they do so many things and they work so hard for you. You love people because of who they are. You love people because you have a connection with them. And there is nothing special about you that means that you don't deserve that same love that any other human being deserves. I mean, if you think about how much maybe you have loved someone who has treated you like garbage, if you think about how much you've loved that person, why would you think that you don't deserve at least that much love from somebody else? You do. It's just that you've been with somebody who's unfortunately felt the need to project their problems onto you and to convince you that you're the reason that they have those emotional problems. But it's just not true. The second belief or projection that a narcissist will want you to take the blame for is the idea that you're the reason that they act the way they do. This narrative of, look what you made me do, or you make me so angry. Nobody else makes me angry like this. I don't act like this with anybody else. It's just you. They want to convince you that you're the reason that they treat you like crap. You're the reason that they have these tantrums. You're the reason that they can't just act like a civilized human being and treat you with basic respect and decency. What do you expect from them after all the horrible things that you do? This is a really tricky one, I think, for people that have gotten into relationships with narcissistic people that have convinced them that they're the reason that they're being treated so poorly. Because narcissists have a way of finding your imperfections and convincing you that you don't deserve to be treated well, or that you deserve to be punished because of those imperfections. And I've tried to explain this before. I think it's really important to understand because it can be really hard to see past these justifications because we all mess up. We all make mistakes. We all do bad things from time to time because we're human. No human being on earth is perfect, and no human being on earth has ever gone their whole life without doing anything that somebody else might point to and say, you deserve to be punished because you did this thing. There's no exceptions. Every human being has done things that they probably shouldn't have done. But when you get involved with a narcissist will look for those things that you've done because you're human, like anyone else, and they'll make you feel like your imperfections and your mistakes and your flaws are special. They're especially bad. And you are worse than other people. You deserve to be raged at. You deserve to be punished and treated like garbage because of these horrible things that you did. But you're no different than any other human being. Even though the narcissist is making you feel like you're one of a kind, I'm not like this with anyone else. It's just you. That is a lie. It's the narcissist who has to find scapegoats. The narcissist's emotional problem that they want to blame you for is the fact that they can't deal with their own insecurities and they don't have the guts to look at their own imperfections. So they have to find yours and look at yours and focus on yours so that they don't have to look at themselves. So if a narcissistic person in your life has decided to conduct a smear campaign on you, or just be especially nasty with you, punish you, talk to people about you behind your back. And even if they're doing that based on something that you really did do that you maybe shouldn't have done, that doesn't mean that you deserve what they're doing to you. That doesn't mean that they have the right to treat you that way. That means that they found that they needed a scapegoat. They needed someone to pick on. They needed to find imperfections or mistakes in somebody around them so that they could feel better about themselves. And they happened to find you. They happened to notice the thing that you did wrong. And that's why they're punishing you. That's why they're treating you like garbage, because they found something to focus on so that they wouldn't have to look at themselves. You do not deserve the criticisms and the abuse and the punishments and the tantrums that narcissists dole out. And it doesn't matter what you did that they insist is the reason that you deserve these things. You don't deserve to be treated that way. The third belief or projection that a narcissist will make you internalize so that they don't have to take the blame for their own problems is the idea that you're the bad guy. You're a bad person. And some of you might comment the idea of DARVO, D-A-R-V-O, which is basically what I'm talking about here, which stands for deny, attack, and reverse the victim and the offender. And it's basically when somebody's hurting you, somebody's mistreating you, harming you, attacking you, and you try to call them out on it. You try to defend yourself, protect yourself. They deny what they're doing, or they minimize it, or they confuse you, or whatever. And then they turn it around on you. They attack you, and they act like they're the victim and you're the aggressor because you're trying to protect yourself. So they can get really good at doing this, at making you feel guilty for trying to protect yourself from somebody who's actively harming you or abusing you, making you feel like you don't have the right to protect yourself or to call them out on things that they're actually doing to you. And that if you do, you're the bad guy, you're a bad person, you're the one who's hurting them. And this ties in with the last concept that I just explained about you're the one making me act this way. So if a narcissistic person or a toxic person is harming you, abusing you, attacking you, and you try to call them out on it, they're going to first go to this idea of like, well, how do you expect me to treat you when you're such a terrible person? And then how can you be so awful and so terrible as to accuse me of harming you? And they will victimize themselves and make you feel like you're a bad person for trying to defend yourself from what is probably an unprovoked attack. This is, of course, a projection of the narcissist's inability to take accountability for the horrible ways that they treat people, for them to turn it around on you, to make themselves the victim, to take the attention off of their behavior so that they don't have to take accountability for their inability to control themselves or their unwillingness to try to control themselves. They just make you the bad guy. Like, oh, okay, well, maybe I called you names and yelled at you for no reason, but now look at you, like you're calling me names now. You're no better than me. It's just a way to make you somebody with a conscience, somebody who cares about whether or not you're hurting people, feel bad for the fact that you're trying to call somebody out on their unprovoked attack on you. Narcissists might articulate this, or maybe without actually saying the words, send the message to you of, I'm more important than you. So if I've hurt you, it doesn't matter. You deserved it. But if you hurt me by bringing it up, well, now you're a terrible person because I'm more important than you. My opinions are more important than you. My behavior is justified no matter what I do because I'm just more important. You don't have the right to stick up for yourself, but I'm going to stick up for myself even if I'm the aggressor. Another idea they might be conveying when they do this is, I have the right to hurt you. And this ties back into the idea of, look what you made me do, or how do you expect me to treat you when you're so awful? Well, I have the right to hurt you. And this is tied into their belief that they own you, that you exist solely to serve their needs, that you exist solely to play a role in this story about them that they are writing the script for. That's the only reason you exist, to support their narrative that they are writing, to make them feel good about themselves, to be this object that they can use to project their own problems onto, to project their own insecurities onto. That's the role you serve. So they have the right, in their mind, they have the right to hurt you if they feel the need to, because that's the only reason you exist. So if you think that you have the right to call them out on something that what did you expect them to do? If you think you have the right to call them out, yeah, they are going to victimize themselves, and they're going to do everything they can to convince you that you're the bad guy. I think that if you're stuck in a relationship where this is resonating, where this sounds familiar, I think a really important thing to keep in mind and to really internalize and understand is that when you're dealing with somebody who feels like they have the right to hurt you and who makes you the bad guy when you try to protect yourself, you need to understand that you have the right to protect and defend yourself. You have the right to assert your boundaries, and they don't have to like it. They don't have to agree with you. They can make themselves the victim all they want. They can believe that you're the bad guy all they want. You have a right to protect yourself anyway. You have the right to protect yourself and let them be angry about it. Let them be angry that you're not a pushover that's just going to let them walk all over you and make a doormat out of you, make a scapegoat out of you. You're worth more than that. You weren't put on this earth to be a punching bag for somebody that can't deal with their own problems. And of course, they're not going to agree with you. Of course, they're not going to like it. And you don't need them to. The fourth belief that a narcissist might cause you to have about yourself is that you are a disappointment. Nothing you do is good enough. They might make you believe certain things, like maybe that you're stupid or you're lazy or you're incompetent, because narcissists are never satisfied with anything. And that's their problem. That's their personal emotional problem that they need to deal with. But instead of dealing with it, they will project it onto you and make you feel like you're the one who can never do anything right. It's your fault that they're never satisfied, never happy, because you never do anything the right way. But of course, they can never tell you exactly what it is you did wrong or exactly what it is they need you to do to make them happy, because there is no such thing. But they'll still continue to blame you and to make you feel like you're just a huge disappointment and that it's your fault. When I talk about this, I sometimes have people ask me in comments, well, what is it that the narcissist wants? You know, when no matter what you do, the narcissist isn't happy. That's not what they wanted. And they can't articulate what exactly you did wrong or what exactly they want, but they're just never happy. Well, what is it that they actually want from you? Well, first of all, I think it's important to understand that they don't know what they want. If they really were trying to be honest and tell you what it is they want, they don't know. And that's because if they really understood what it was that they wanted, that would require self-reflection and accountability. That would require them to really dig deep and understand why it is that they're never happy and never satisfied with anything you do. And they just don't want to do that. They are stuck in this loop of constantly blaming you for their angst and their dissatisfaction and their anger in life. So they don't really want to understand what it is they actually want from you. But what it is that they want from you, they want you to fix their emotional problems for them, or to at least keep them in this constant state of not having to face their emotional problems. They want you to run on a treadmill or a hamster wheel that keeps them distracted from how they actually feel about themselves. They want you to regulate their emotions for them. Tumultuous, unpredictable, angry, uncomfortable emotions that they don't know how else to deal with. They want you to deal with their emotional problems for them. That's what they want. And when you inevitably fail to manage somebody else's emotional problems for them, they want to blame you for their own self-hatred and their own anger. they want you to take all the weight and all the blame for all their problems. That is truly what they want, and that's why you can never make them happy. That's why nothing you do is ever good enough. They want you to fail. They want to ask you to cook lasagna, and they want you to do it wrong so that they have a reason to yell at you and tell you what a disappointment you are, so that they feel better about themselves, so that they can pretend that everything's your fault, you're the screw up. And that's why it's impossible to make them happy, because they don't want you to make them happy. They want you to make mistakes. They want to find those imperfections and those flaws and those bad decisions that you've made. They want those things so that they can use them to scapegoat you and make themselves feel better about themselves. They want to project their problems onto you. They want you to believe that you're not lovable, that it's your fault that they can't love you. They want you to believe that the way you act and the things you do force them to act the way they do. They want you to believe that it's your fault that they're so angry and that they treat you the way they do. They want you to believe that you have no right to defend yourself, that you owe them the world, and that you should just kiss their butt no matter what they do, no matter how they treat you. And that if you try to protect yourself from the way they harm you, you're the bad guy. You're the thoughtless, selfish person that dares to hurt them by telling them what it is that they've done to you. And they want you to believe that you really are messing everything up, that you can't do anything right, and that you should be able, if you really cared and if you really put some thought and effort into it, you should be able to do things the right way to make them happy. But that's something that's impossible to do. Narcissists set you up to fail because they want you to fail. They want you to take the blame for the ugly, hateful, dark, angry emotions that they deal with all day, every day. And that's why they can really convince you that all these things about yourself are true, but these are all lies that the narcissist can cause you to carry for the rest of your life, even long after you're no longer with them. You can believe these things for the rest of your life because of things that the narcissist has taught you. But I want you to really rethink, if you have any of these internalized beliefs, I want you to really think about where these beliefs came from, because I promise you, you are lovable. You deserve love just the way you are. You make mistakes. You've done bad things. You've made bad decisions because you're a human being. You still deserve love. You still deserve respect and basic decency. You deserve community and support because you're a human being. You deserve at least as much love and support as you've given to this person that's hurt you so much. You're not a bad person for trying to protect yourself from somebody who's actively harming you, and you're not a disappointment. You're just a human being that's always deserved love and acceptance. And I hope that as you move forward, you can see that anyone that's taught you otherwise was really just trying to convince you to believe things about yourself that made them temporarily feel better. I hope this helps. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and comment below any ideas you have for me for future videos. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like this video and would like to see more like it in the future. Until next time, thanks. Bye.